February 18, 1977, dawn breaks over Lagos, Nigeria. At 14A Agege Motor Road in Mushin, residents of a unique commune are beginning their day. They call their home the Kalakuta Republic, a self-declared independent nation within Nigeria. But in just hours, this sanctuary of music, art, and resistance will become a battleground. 1,000 soldiers will descend upon this peaceful community, leaving behind a trail of destruction that will shock the world and forever change the course of Nigerian history. This is the story of one of the most brutal government assaults on civilians in Nigeria's post-independence history. An attack that will claim an innocent life, destroy a cultural landmark, and expose the dark underbelly of military rule. This is the story of the day that Nigerian government tried to silence the voice of the people and failed. To understand the brutality of February 18th, we must first understand what Kalakuta Republic represented. Founded in 1970 by the legendary musician and activist Funmilayo Kalakuta was more than just a commune. It was a revolutionary experiment in self-governance and artistic freedom. The name itself was symbolic. Kalakuta referred to the infamous Calcutta prison in India, a place Fela chose to represent the oppression faced by black people worldwide. But this Kalakuta would be different. A republic where creativity flourished, where the oppressed could find sanctuary, and where the truth could be spoken without fear. Located at 14A Agege Motor Road in the heart of Mushin, Lagos, this sprawling compound housed dozens of residents, musicians, artists, activists, and ordinary Nigerians who believed in Fela's vision of a free society. They lived together in what they genuinely considered an independent nation. They issued their own passports, established their own rules, and declared themselves free from the military government that ruled Nigeria with an iron fist. But Kalakuta was more than a political theater. It was the birthplace of Afrobeat, the revolutionary music genre that focused traditional African rhythms with jazz, funk, and soul. From within these walls emerged songs that challenged authority, exposed corruption, and gave voice to the voiceless masses of Africa. Along with other issues, the bold defiance of military authority would make Kalakuta a target. The Nigerian military government, led by General Olusegun Obasanjo, viewed this commune not as a harmless artistic experiment, but as a dangerous threat to their authority. By 1977, tensions between Fela and the Nigerian government had reached a breaking point. The catalyst came in the form of an album that would shake the very foundations of military rule, Zombie. Released in the late 1976, Zombie was Fela's most catching critique of the Nigerian military. In the song, he compared soldiers to zombies, mindless beings who followed orders without question, no matter how brutal or senseless the orders were. The lyrics cut deep. Zombie no go think unless you tell am to think. Zombie no go unless you tell am to go. Zombie oh zombie, zombie oh zombie. The album became an instant sensation across Nigeria and West Africa. Young people sang it in the streets, soldiers heard it on radios, and government watched in horror as their authority was mocked openly. The song didn't just criticize the military, it stripped them of their mystique, reducing them to objects of ridicule. The government's response was swift but indirect. They couldn't ban the album without appearing weak, but they could make life difficult for its creator. Harassment increased. Police raids on Kalakuta became more frequent. Residents were arrested on trumped-up charges. The pressure was building and everyone could feel it. But Fela refused to back down. In his mind, he was protected by the sovereignty of his republic, by international law, and by the righteousness of his cause. He had no idea that the government was planning something far more devastating than routine harassment. According to Carlos Moore's definitive biography, This Beach of a Life, based on extensive interviews with Fela himself, the musician was aware of the growing hostility, but believed his status as an international artist would protect him. He was wrong, tragically, fatally wrong. February 18, 1977 began like any other day at Kalakuta Republic. Residents were going about their morning routines when the ground began to shake. The sound started as distant rumbling, then grew into the unmistakable roar of military vehicles approaching. At approximately 8 a.m., a convoy of army trucks surrounded the compound. What emerged was not a police action or a targeted arrest. It was a full-scale military assault. 1,000 soldiers armed with rifles, clubs, and tear gas had been dispatched to destroy Kalakuta Republic once and for all. The attack was unprecedented in its brutality. Soldiers broke down gates, smashed windows, and stormed into the compound with orders that became horrifyingly clear: destroy everything and everyone inside. Witnesses later described scenes of unimaginable violence. Residents were beaten indiscriminately, women were sexually assaulted, men were arrested and tortured. The soldiers showed no mercy, treating the compound inhabitants not as Nigerian citizens but as enemy combatants. Fela himself was severely beaten. Soldiers targeted target Fela himself was severely beaten. Soldiers targeted him specifically, breaking his arms and inflicting injuries that will affect him for the rest of his life. But the attack wasn't just about punishment, it was about complete annihilation of everything Kalakuta represented. The soldiers systematically destroyed the compound. They burnt musical instruments worth thousands of naira. Master recordings of unreleased songs, pieces of cultural heritages were thrown into the fire. The recording studio where Afrobeat was born was demolished. Personal belongings, family photographs, and mementos were trampled underfoot or consumed by flames. But the most horrific moment came when soldiers reached the second floor of the main building. There, they encountered 77-year-old Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti, Fela's mother and one of Nigeria's most respected women's rights activists. According to multiple eyewitnesses' accounts documented in This Beach of a Life and other sources, soldiers threw Funmilayo from a second-story window. The woman, known as the Lion of Lisabi, who had fought for Nigeria's independence and women's rights for decades, was treated like a common criminal by the very soldiers who should have protected her. She suffered severe injuries from the fall and was left in critical condition. For 8 weeks, she lay in a coma, fighting for her life. On April 13, 1977, Nigeria lost one of its greatest freedom fighters when Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti died from her injuries. By noon of February 18th, Kalakuta Republic ceased to exist. Where once stood a vibrant community of artists and activists, only smoldering ruins remained. The compound was completely destroyed, its residents scattered, and its spirits seemingly crushed. But the Nigerian government wasn't finished. In an act of cynical theater that would become infamous, they denied any involvement in the attack. Official statements claimed that the destruction was carried out by unknown soldiers acting without government authorization. The lie was so transparent, so insulting to the intelligence of the Nigerian people that Fela would later immortalize it in one of his greatest songs, Unknown Soldiers. The track became a searing indictment of government dishonesty and a testament to the events of that terrible day. The cover-up extended beyond mere denial. Evidence was destroyed, witnesses were intimidated, and official investigations were either blocked or rendered meaningless. No soldier was ever prosecuted for the attack. No compensation was paid to the victims. The government message was clear: this is what happens to those who dare challenge military authority. International reactions were swift and overwhelmingly negative. Human rights organizations condemned the attack. Foreign journalists reported on the brutality, bringing international attention to Nigeria's human rights abuses. The attack on Kalakuta became a symbol of military oppression not just in Nigeria, but across Africa. Yet, perhaps the most significant aftermath was the opposite of what the government intended. Instead of silencing Fela and his movement, the attack transformed him into a martyr for the cause of human rights and artistic freedoms. His music became more popular, his message spread further, and his influence grew stronger. The destruction of Kalakuta Republic revealed the true nature of military rule in Nigeria. It showed a government so threatened by artistic expression and peaceful resistance that it was willing to commit acts of shocking brutality against its own people. The invasion of Kalakuta Republic represents one of the darkest chapters in Nigeria's human rights history. The attack violated virtually every principle of human dignity and constitutional law that government is supposed to protect. First was the violation of due process. No warrants were issued for the mass arrest. No charges were formally filed against most residents. The attack was carried out without legal justification or judicial oversight. A complete abandonment of the rule of law. Second, the violation of property rights. The destruction of Kalakuta was nothing short of state-sanctioned theft and vandalism. Millions of naira worth of property were destroyed without compensation or legal justification. Musical instruments, recording equipment, and personal belongings were destroyed simply because their owners dared to challenge government authority. Third, this was the violation of freedom of expression and assembly. Kalakuta Republic was at its core an artistic and political community. Its destruction sent a chilling message to all Nigerians: express dissent and face the consequences. But perhaps most seriously, The attack represented a massive violation of the right to life and personal security. The death of Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti was not an accident. It was the predictable result of a military assault on civilians. The sexual assaults, the beatings, the torture of residents were all crimes committed against Nigerian citizens by their own government. The international community took notice. Amnesty International documented the abuses. The United Nations raised concerns about Nigerian human rights record. The attack became evidence of a pattern of military brutality that would define Nigeria throughout the 1970s and 1980s. Yet, from this tragedy emerged a powerful lesson about the resilience of the human spirit. The government succeeded in destroying buildings, but they failed to destroy ideas. They killed Funmilayo Ransome-Kuti's body, but her legacy to resistance lived on. They scattered the residents of Kalakuta, but they could not scatter the movement for justice and artistic freedom. Today, more than 45 years after the invasion, the legacy of Kalakuta Republic continues to resonate throughout Nigeria and Africa. The compound's destruction became a rallying cry for human rights activists, a cautionary tale about military rule, and a testament to the power of art to challenge authority. Fela himself never fully recovered from the trauma of that day. The death of his mother haunted him until his own death in 1997. Yet he continued to create music, continued to speak truth to power, and continued to inspire generations of artists and activists across Africa and the world. The impact extends far beyond music. The attack on Kalakuta helped galvanize opposition to military rule in Nigeria. It became a symbol of everything that was wrong with authoritarian government and helped build momentum for the eventual return of civilian rule. Human rights organizations point to Kalakuta as a watershed moment in Africa's history. The day when the international community truly understood the brutality of military rule in Africa. The documentation of the attack helped establish patterns of evidence that would later be used to prosecute war crimes and crimes against humanity. In 2012, the Kalakuta Museum was opened in Lagos, preserving the memory of what once stood at that site. Visitors from around the world came to pay their respects and learn about this crucial chapter in Nigeria's history. The museum stands as a reminder that those who died for freedom will not be forgotten. Today, Nigerian artists from Burna Boy to Wizkid to Davido all trace their lineage back to the revolutionary spirit that emerged from Kalakuta Republic. The Afrobeat genre that was born there has evolved into modern Afrobeat, conquering global music charts and carrying Nigerian's culture to every corner of the world. But perhaps the most important legacy is the lesson that Kalakuta teaches about the relationship between art and politics, between creativity and resistance. The government of 1977 believed that military force could silence artistic expression. They were wrong. Today, Nigeria's creative industry is one of its greatest sources of soft power and international influence. The soldiers who invaded Kalakuta Republic on Friday 18, 1977 achieved their immediate tactical objectives. They destroyed buildings, scattered residents, and killed an innocent woman. But strategically, historically, they failed completely. They intended to silence Fela Anikulapo Kuti. Instead, they amplified his voice. They meant to destroy a movement. Instead, they created a legacy. They hoped to intimidate a generation of artists. Instead, they inspired a revolution in creative expression and Instead, they inspired a revolution in creative expression that continues to this day. The invasion of Kalakuta Republic stands as one of the most shameful episodes in Nigeria's post-independence history. It represents everything that military rule brought to our nation: brutality, lawlessness, and contempt for human dignity. But it also represents something else: the unbreakable spirit of the Nigerian people, our refusal to be silenced, and our eternal commitment to freedom. Today, when young Nigerians sing along to Afrobeat in Lagos Club, when African artists win Grammy Awards, and when our culture spread across the globe, they are fulfilling the dream that was born at Kalakuta Republic. They are proof that no amount of military force can kill an idea whose time has come. The unknown soldiers of February 18, 1977, who will be forever forgotten, thought they were writing the end of a story. Instead, they were writing the beginning of a legend. The Kalakuta Republic is gone, but its spirit, the spirit of resistance, creativity, and uncompromising commitment to truth lives on forever. Don't forget to subscribe. Till I come your way again, see you soon.